Today we're going to talk about dynamics processing and we're going to focus on spoken word. Often in a home recording studio, you don't get perfect sounding recordings, especially if you're engineering the sound yourself. Sometimes you need to edit a little in post-production to make it sound better. For editing, I'm using Amadeus Pro, which is a great low-cost audio editor, and a few of the default Apple Audio Unit plugins. These come with OS X, and I'm a big fan of using the tools you have at your disposal instead of just going out and buying more stuff. If you know what you're doing, that's much better than having some really expensive preamp or access to $1 million studio. But then again, that'd be nice too. This audio is from Samuel's Shadow, a story that I wrote and then recorded the narration to. You can see it in another video. I'm going to play a little bit of Samuel's Shadow, the raw recorded audio. I have edited out the bad takes and got it to a pacing that I like, but this is still just with nothing applied to it. Samuel's Shadow by Lucas Allman and Zach Smolko. There once was a boy named Samuel Silas Malone who would find ways to play when he was alone. He would build with his blocks or shoot his toy bow, but it was always more fun to play with his shadow. You can hear my breaths, mouth noise, and background things as I perform, and we really just want to remove that stuff. We're going to first start with this dynamics processor audio unit, and we're going to add the noise gate to help attenuate the performance a little bit. The presets on this are pretty good, and I like medium gate to start with, but you still have to find the threshold of what you want people to hear and what you want to cut out and how fast you want it to act. Acting too slow will mean the audio sounds stilted and you'll be able to tell there's a gate on it. Too fast and it actually won't filter out that breathing and mouth noise at the beginning of a phrase. Here it is and listen carefully. Samuel's Shadow by Lucas Allman and Zach Smolko. There once was a boy named Samuel Silas Malone who would find ways to play when he was alone. He would build with his blocks or shoot his toy bow, but it was always more fun to play with his shadow. What's great about a lot of these dynamic processors is that you can visually see how it's working. So it removes all that noise in between phrases and attenuates the beginning of the phrase a little bit, and you can see where that threshold is visually. Next, we're going to want to reduce the amount of sibilants and plosives in the recording if we can. Of course, getting the best sounding recording from the beginning is what we want to do, but sometimes the performance is really good and it just needs a little bit of sweetening. So we have a parametric EQ here with the sibilance removal preset that I've already set up. All this is really doing is reducing the amplitude of the frequencies around 6,000 Hz. That's sort of the area where sibilance happens. So listen to the S's and the C's as I turn it on and off. Samuel's Shadow by Lucas Allman and Zach Smolko. There once was a boy named Samuel Silas Malone who would find ways to play when he was alone. He would build with his blocks or shoot his toy bow, but it was always more fun to play with his shadow. His shadow would sneak up behind him and boo, and Samuel's shadow is named Samuel too. It's subtle, but it really removes a lot of the harshness of the speaking. Now we're going to move on to plosives. These are made by hard B, P, and T sounds, and they're really prevalent in most recordings. This is another parametric equalizer, but this time we're reducing the amplitude of the frequencies at about 100 Hz, which is where the plosives tend to be. So listen to this one as it plays, and I turn it on and off. Samuel's Shadow by Lucas Allman and Zach Smolko. There once was a boy named Samuel Silas Malone who would find ways to play when he was alone. He would build with his blocks or shoot his toy bow, but it was always more fun to play with his shadow. His shadow would sneak up behind him and boo. And Samuel's shadow is named Samuel too. Overall, we've only changed 3 small aspects of the sound, but those 3 add up to a much cleaner sounding spoken word track. Post production can fix a lot of errors, but solid engineering during production is the best way to avoid lots of editing. So try this out on your next recording and experiment a little, and consider subscribing or leaving a comment.